Piloting the Mercury spacecraft, known as Fate 7, is Jordan...
Is 30-year-old Major Gordon Cooper.
Sorry, not Jordan, but Gordon Cooper. A well-known American astronaut who is a cool guy and, well, he saw a UFO.
Gordon Cooper is one of the most famous astronauts in U.S. history, rightly so.
He is an aerospace engineer, an Air Force test pilot who has logged more than 7,500 million hours, a lot of hours anyway, into flying all sort of aircraft. He's a very experienced observer. Now on his last orbit, he has a very unique experience. He sees a buzzing UFO by his capsule, green orb of some sort, and what's most important to me at least is he seems like a very genuine guy who wants to tell the truth and do well for his fellow countrymen and women, and he just really wants to do good for the planet.
One of the top observers in the world. He was an experienced pilot.
And when he lands, reporters are not allowed to ask any questions regarding the UFO. How do you know this is true? Because he explains all this in his later years.
Although NASA ground control largely dismisses the sighting as some sort of optical illusion, the UFO is picked up on an Australian radar tracking station.
Yes, he wants to do good for the planet, it seems to me, and he's an honest guy. That's my opinion. Be the judge, watch the tapes. Here is his story.
It was made clear to reporters that they could not ask him about the UFO sighting. NASA would only do this if there was some incredibly important piece of information being released that they wouldn't want out there.
Clearly, NASA was very uncomfortable with him describing what he saw. So, if space is exactly what they tell us it is, this big empty void with nothing out there, then why do they need to suppress one of their own best and brightest from talking about what he saw?
Despite Cooper's observation in space, NASA's official transcript of the mission bears no mention of Cooper's sighting.
Cool! And then he saw a UFO again. He and his fellow crewmates in their airplanes saw many flying UFOs.
Unlike fighters, they would almost stop in their forward velocity and change 90 degrees sometimes in their flight path. And within the next 2 to 3 days, we'd had practically all the fighters we could muster on the base up climbing as high as they would climb with guys with binoculars in them, still trying to spot these strange devices flying overhead. And we never could get close enough really to pin them down, but they were round in shape and very metallic looking. And they would come over and do the same maneuvers that we make, except every once in a while one of them would go zip. And you just can't do that in a fighter. I think that those of you that know me know that I've always spoken honestly and straightforward to you. I intend to do so today.
10 years earlier, while stationed at Edwards Air Force Base, Cooper witnessed an event that has yet to be explained nearly 50 years later. He was supervising the filming of a precision landing facility for F-86 fighter jets.
On the third occasion, that UFO landed just in front of him.
Suddenly, a saucer-like craft flew directly over the cameraman. 3 landing gear apparatus opened, and the object landed on the dry lake bed.
They're just typical saucer shape, double lenticular shape, metallic. And they went out, picked up their cameras, and moved on out toward him filming. And he lifted off, put the gear back in the well, and climbed out at a very high rate of speed and disappeared.
Cooper had the film footage of the strange craft developed. By the time it returned from processing, he had gone up through the ranks to report the incident.
Finally, with the colonel telling me to, when the film arrived at my desk, to put it in the carrier pouch. There would be a courier there at my office by that time already, and And they'd arranged for him to fly in our base airplane back to Washington with these found.
Did you watch the film?
We didn't have a chance to run it. I had a chance to hold it up to the window and look at it. It was certainly good found.
After the developed film was sent by plane to Washington, it was never seen or heard of again.
Did you ever keep in touch with anybody about it or discuss it?
How would I keep in touch with anybody about it? There's no way within the military or within the government of keeping track of something that is classified unless you're directly involved in it, and I was not.
I went into space to learn about the universe we live in, to get new insights, to go beyond the boundaries of our known existence.
Look okay?
Apollo 14 astronaut and sixth man on the moon, Edgar Mitchell, states in his book, The Way of the Explorer, that he's never had first-hand experience with UFOs. However, he has met with credible professionals within 2 governments who have testified to their own first-hand experiences with close encounters during their official duties.
The only people I know of that claim to have been in that position are former intelligence, military, and government people, and some contractor people, whose official duties in the early days were to investigate this and know about it. Those people were under, at that time, great restrictions and high security clearance that prevented them from telling the general public about it.
Since the subject is clearly of great interest to the public, I think that the scientific community owes it to the public to really pay attention to the subject and make a thorough, extensive, and careful investigation, and then share with the public whatever they find.
A story this big, there's no way it could be kept secret from the public. What do you say to someone like that that says that?
Well, somebody's kept it pretty secret for quite a while, haven't they?
When you're observing him, please try to see if he is a genuine man. That is the most important thing, because anyone can say anything they want, right?